I have so much stuff to tell you about this, and I don't know where to start. So, well, let's start at the start. About a year ago, I talked to my cousin saying, man, I want to really do a Skidoo Gen 4 because nobody makes them. No toys, manufacturer, nothing, nobody. So I was like, okay, let's try to do something together. I'm not too good at making like body side panels and different shapes of an actual product. So I asked him, man, you're a designer, you're making these crazy stuff. Let's try to make one. So he gave me that. Now I know what you're thinking. Like it's kind of looking like a Skidoo, but it doesn't have all the details necessary to look like one. So I was like, okay, that's fine. That's actually perfect because I can just start going at it, add details that I want and features and all that. So that's a great base. So then I started making it as a shell. So basically what that means is that you take every material off the interior and you're left with just the outside perimeters. And I think I made it like 3 or 4 millimeters thick. That's plenty strong. Like you wouldn't be able to easily dent the thing. But at the same time, it's lightweight enough so it doesn't weigh a ton. Because even though this thing, as it sits, like I know it's missing the skid, but all that. But as it sits, this is like 3.5 kilograms or something like that. So that's pretty heavy. But at the same time, this is a true 1/5 scale. So I'm not too surprised. Just as a comparison, the RMK is, I think, 2.8 kilogram. So there's not too much of a difference there. Mainly the electronics is the heaviest part. So yeah, I started there, and then as I went along, I realized that this was originally supposed to be a 1/7 scale, but eventually I figured out, man, that there's no way everything that I want to fit is gonna fit in 1/7 scale. So I just scaled it up to 1/5. I made sure the dimensions from the back here all the way to the tip of the skis were the same 1/5 dimensions of the real snowmobile. So I went on the BRP website and took the measurements and scaled it properly. So now every time I saw a picture, I could relate to the distance of how much it measured and scale everything. So that means the running boards, they're the proper size, the rear bumper and wheels, and most of the stuff is pretty much spot on. A big challenge I had to overcome is that none of the parts on this snowmobile had to be metal. What I mean by that is that if you have just a tiny piece of metal exposed, this is a snowmobile. It's gonna go in rain, water, snow, heavy, wet stuff. So as soon as it goes in contact with metal, it's gonna cause some rust. I've seen that in the Rush, not the RMK, but in the Rush, some screws, they were actually metal, so they rusted. And that's a big game. That's a big no for me. So I made sure that every single screw you can see, except for maybe the grub screws, like the color is plated, but the grub screw, I believe, is just it's metal with a special coating, but it's prone to rusting. So I made sure to add some grease in those. But every single piece, rod, shaft, screw, everything had to be either stainless, brass, or plastic, or maybe, like, if I feel fancy, carbon fiber, but more on that later. That means every single bearing, like these are 608 bearings, and I couldn't just take any simple bearing and call it a day, because this is straight up exposed to the snow running in the tunnel. So these are, I believe, titanium bearings, or titanium coated, I believe, maybe. But I also have some ceramic bearings which has no metal part at all in them, so that guaranteed won't rust. And I did my best to eliminate as much rust spots as possible. I believe there's still some small bearings I couldn't size properly in the small rear wheels, but apart from that, that's the only part that has metal exposed. Now, when I made the design, I knew I wanted to go for a few companies. Like, if I made my own sled from BRP, what would I put aftermarket parts in? So right away I looked for A-arms, and the best looking ones I could find. These are Skins A-arms concept, at least very inspired from them. I made some more crisscross just to add some strength, but eventually this is not quite enough, so I had to beat that up a bit more. But just for a base reference, even the top A-arm, this is Skins A-arm concept, and it's just missing the middle band here, so it's easier to print. But apart from that, that's pretty much on par with the Skins A-arm concept. And then for the spindles, these are inspired from the Zillinger Racing SBB spindles, just because I think they look, well, they're bigger than the original. I think they look pretty good on this. Then the skis, they are the CNA skis MTX, and I put a small twist on them because I love the look of the original Skidoo one, because I think they look good. Then going to the back, I decided to keep the running boards because I think they look good and they really make the sled pop out with these. I could have gone with a, say, tube imitation, but I think this looks better. And to the back, I was inspired by the Backwood Extreme bumper with my own touch, because I made a bumper that looks a lot more like what they're doing, because their bar at the back comes looping back around and connects to here to add some strength to the back. But this made it really brittle because made out of plastic, this is not working. So instead I made a metal rod here. It might change, you know, still up in development, but I was inspired by them. And then this pattern that you see inside, that's my own design, because, you know, I think that's more rigid and durable than the original. And to finish up, this is inspired by the Chris Bryant edition tunnel bag, just because I needed more space inside, and I'll explain to you later why. And one last thing, the wheels, you can only see this one for obvious reasons, but it's inspired by High-Tech Industries wheels, because they look a bit like this and I think they look good, so I decided to go with this. So that's pretty much it for the aftermarket parts. Actually, this is a great looking sled in black, but it was initially, like, the reason why I went with the Skidoo Gen 4 is because I went to the unveiling in March of the new 2020 snowmobiles, and I kind of fell in love with the freeride. I think it looks absolutely amazing, the colors it came in. So I decided to make my own version of that snowmobile. So without further ado, let me show it. This thing looks absolutely amazing in blue, for real. One of the few things that are missing is that it says freeride here on the real model, but obviously I don't have any stickers of a freeride. And I believe there's also a few parts that are different color here, but you can easily paint them if you want. And one last thing, I really like the, I think they're adventure bumpers. Like, they're really difficult to design, and I didn't have any good pictures of them, so I couldn't design them. So I just made the standard front bumper, and it's included in the chassis, so it's difficult to change, but you can easily paint it if you want to change the color of it. So it also has the rear functional LED red lights. I'll try to show you some clip of it. I would say this is probably the best looking snowmobile I've made so far, but I still have some great color options that I have not tried to print yet that I'm gonna show real soon. But when the times come, if you decide that you want one and you're selected or something, I don't know how I'm gonna do the slot thingy, but like, say if you get a slot, the way it's gonna work is that I'm gonna ask you to to choose which body panel you want in what color, so I can customize really the way you want it. And if you have any special requests, I can maybe do them at the proper time. So that's my take at it. This is probably the greatest looking snowmobile you've seen on my channel so far, and I can't wait to show you more about them. I'll try to maybe put a small little clip of them running in the snow just to tease you a little bit. And on that note, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. I'm surprised that nobody noticed this in the previous videos. Like, I don't know. I mean, that's different. No other sled has this. I wonder what that's for. Anyways, thanks for watching. Bye. Oh yeah.
Oh my god. Oh wow.